so much. I'm so glad to be here. Gosh, I think as Dr. Bhattacharya was saying, we kind of have to start at the beginning to tell a little bit about our background and give some context to where we are now. So like she said, I did. I started the PhD program in another department. Found myself struggling in that department, not with the work, but with feelings of isolation, feelings of belongingness, the expectations of the program, right? The expectations weren't high or rigorous. They were just different than what I expected coming in, than what we talked about when I signed to come on. And then not feeling like I was learning what I was supposed to learn, right? So I was teaching a diversity course as a TA without much support, and that's a whole nother conversation. But all of these things culminated to me feeling like, you know, this is not a good space for me. So 2 years in, I was going through the motions and able to really articulate what I needed as a grad student and how all of this was affecting me, right? Because it seemed like the norm. It seemed like this is what you're supposed to be doing as a grad student. You're supposed to be kind of struggling with this thing and trying to figure it out by yourself. So that really was affecting me, and I just put my head down and tried to figure it out, right? Without the support, without having the support. So during my visit with my advisor, we began talking about the dissertation. And I had already knew that I was going to do a qualitative dissertation. So she suggested that I meet with Dr. Bhattacharya, and my advisor hadn't met Dr. Bhattacharya. She just heard good things about her, right? So she said, I think you should go over talk to this lady, Kakali Bhattacharya in College of Education. I haven't really met her, heard great things about her. Maybe she can help us, and maybe you can talk to her about being on your committee. So I initially went over, I think I went to a talk of yours. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I went to a talk of yours, and then sent you an email and asked if we could meet to talk about you being on my committee. And it was in that first meeting when I came to your office and you asked me, how are you doing? That was the first question you asked. Do you remember this?
No, I don't remember that. So this is your memories now. Remembering, yes.
Remembering, absolutely. So you asked how I was doing, and it was just the general, you know, how are you doing? And I gave you the standard, you know, I'm fine. And you looked at me and said, no, really, how are you doing? Do you remember now? And I broke down crying in your office. We had just met. I was a mess. I was a mess. Oh my God. So she didn't agree to be on my committee right away, right? So it was like, we need to work through some other things. So she didn't agree to be on my committee right away. But she connected me with the graduate student group. She said, you need community, you need connection. You know, this is some of the things that are going on with you. This is what's happening. So we had that initial conversation when I was just going in prepared to talk to her about my research and ask her to be on my committee, you know, just this 10-minute conversation. And then it turned out to be this whole other entire conversation that I was not prepared for, just from the question of how are you really doing, right? So it was different than what I had just totally encountered and expected, because I was feeling so broken. I was feeling like such of a mess inside. And I was just so unsure of myself because of the department that I was coming from and all of the toxicity in that department and all of that. So then, you know, having the confidence in all of that was just that imposter monster, as Enzel Dua and you call it, and all of that became my best friend. That imposter became my best friend, and she greeted me daily, right? So when you had asked me that, it was like I was being seen. I just totally broke down and was a mess in your office. So then I began taking the qualitative courses with you. I don't know if I had moved over to your department yet. but I began taking qualitative courses, and it was in that intro to qual course where we did the bag project. And I found myself crying in that class too. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I found myself crying in that class too. It was like, what the heck is going on with me? Right? So I was bursting at the seams with emotion. On the outside, I had it pulled together, but on the inside, I was a mess. And a culmination of things, being a student of color in a predominantly white space, being a broke grad student, not having a sense of community, not necessarily having that connectedness. Sure, we have a cohort that we go through this thing with, but after being burned in academia by students and professors, you learn, not to trust anyone and to kind of stick to yourself. So that's where I really was. So I ended up actually switching programs and moving over to the College of Education to study under Dr. Bhattacharya, and then she became my co-chair for my dissertation. So all of this leads to the question that she's asking of what were my stuck points during my dissertation and data analysis. I had so much crap that I hadn't worked through, so much in my head space and also in my heart space that when I went to the College of Education, I brought all of this with me in addition to the thing that I was studying.